Welcome to the Fantasy HQ podcast, all things NRL Fantasy. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook. Your hosts, Frosty and Stevo. Welcome everybody, it's already round 2 of the NRL Fantasy season, and we are the Fantasy HQ, your hosts, Frosty and Stevo. And Frosty, I've got a bit of dilemma already, mate. I think I have to make 2 trades this week. If I could make 4, I probably would. Are you in a similar sort of position?
Yeah, not quite 4, Stevo, but if I could make 3, I would probably be cashing in 3. So, unfortunately, not to be for us. Strictly down to 2, the bare minimum for the first few rounds. So, yeah, definitely weighing up who's coming in. I think Noah Martin might be the top of the list, but what I do with that second option will be a head scratcher for the next couple of days and evenings, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, Noah Martin is definitely one I'll be targeting. And then there's a couple other cheapies that I'd love to get in. I don't really have enough players to trade out, but there's a lot of players I want in my team straight away. So a few decisions to make in the coming days. But on today's episode, we're going to be looking at best buys, the sort of must-haves, and a couple of risky pods. So we're going to sort of go over the TLT and in each team say who we think are must-haves or buys, and throughout the occasional pod. So before we get into it, if you can like and subscribe, we would much appreciate it. Help us get to that 500 mark. It would be fantastic. So Thursday, 10 p.m. New Zealand time, we've got the Broncos playing the Eels, and if I take the Broncos, if I'm honest with you, there's not a single buy. I don't think I'd be urging anyone to get anything. How about you for the Eels, Frosty?
Yeah, Eels are much the same for Thursday night footy, so it's not the most exciting proposition for fantasy coaches. But an early pod play, I actually like Iongi there at the wing fullback. We spoke about in our previous episode, all the guns but Reece Walsh went large, so after a good start. But Iongi there at the mid-range price scored a 57 in a Eels team that got well beaten, and the Broncos defense wasn't that great in round 1. Leading up 28 odd points against the Panthers. So Iongi could go back-to-back 50s and be off to a fly. He certainly looked much improved on his previous season. So yeah, if you're after a pot option early, wouldn't mind him, and don't have a buy until round 12. So a great runway.
Yeah, Iongi looks like a good option. He looks like he might have a bit of an an uptick from last year, just in terms of another year under his belt, a bit bigger, a bit stronger. So bit of luck. He's a good little pod play you could go there, especially if you want to trade out like a Cobbo or someone like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Moving on to Friday, we've got the Wars facing the Raiders, 8 p.m. New Zealand time. And again, the Warriors, there's not a huge amount there. Tanner Boyd, if you really want to go a pod play and think he's going to stick to sort of that mid-70s scoring, good luck to you, but that could be a pod if you want to go down that route. Other than that, James Fisher-Harris started really well. He got, I think, a 67. Looked good, but got decent minutes, had a lot of attacking stats, not usually where he would score. He's more that 45 to 50. But that's probably the two main pods you could probably go for me in the Warriors. How about the Raiders, Frosty?
Yeah, and not this week certainly, but one just to keep an eye on for the Warriors is Jackson Ford in my eyes. I only put out a 44, but he played 70 minutes, and it looked like it's going to be a pretty stock standard rotation there. So if he can put out another couple of mid 40s and drop 50, 60k, bottom out, he would be a great pickup if he's going to play 70 minutes all season, because eventually in the long run he should get up to that 55 average. You would imagine playing that. But the Raiders, Ethan Sanders would be one. We spoke about in the intro, a lot of cheapies. He's slightly more expensive, especially after his price rise, around 370, 380k. But he did have a try and a field goal, so it's not going to be a stock standard outing. So I'd expect high 30s to low 40s. But with that great start, his money making propositions have certainly increased from what I thought in the preseason. So option there if you're after a half, especially if you're looking to move on from Dylan Brown's slow start and you're looking at a knee-jerk reaction. In the forward pack, we mentioned Noah Martin's probably the top of the picks for us when it comes to the entire NRL week. And outside of that, not too much else. I mean, Hudson Young started strong, but he's top dollar, and there is plenty of cheap edges going around, so I certainly wouldn't be upgrading this early in the season.
Yeah, for me, I think Noah Martin is a clear buy, especially with Mickelson looking like he's injured. May require surgery. It's sort of a little bit up in the air. What sort of is it coming out of the camp? So if he's out for another 3 or 4 weeks and Noah Martin takes that role and sort of makes it his own, he's got a negative 20 BE. If he averages, 45s, he's going to be making about close to 200k in the next couple of weeks. So in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So I think there's a lot of easy money to be made there. Moving on to the next game, we've got the Roosters versus the Rabbitohs on Friday night, the late game, 10 p.m. New Zealand time. And for the Roosters, bit of a change-up. We've got Nat Butcher, who was our buy pod option, moved to the bench. But that makes, I think, Sua Wong an interesting buy and looked really good. Probably the best forward they had on the park, actually, for the Roosters. So I'm suggesting Sua. Decent buy option, along with James Tedesco. So Teddy in recent years hasn't started too well, but we did mention it yesterday that a lot of the wing fullbacks actually started fantastic in the comp, and Teddy was none other one of those options. So for me, those are the two main ones. Anyone for the Roosters for you before moving on to the Rabbitohs?
Teddy did look fantastic, and I was very high on him after their final trial game, and it's good to see him kick on with the same form in round one. And your wing fullback's a bit of a funny one. I wouldn't be getting rid of Walsh with those 45% owned. But yeah, for whatever reason, if you're after a wing fullback gun, Teddy would probably be second on my list, just below Kalen Ponga. So yeah. But the Bunnies, Latrell Mitchell went large. I don't think we need a knee-jerk reaction and try him out. He is top dollar at about 770k. Won't be scoring 2 tries every week, but that left edge we have spoken about all preseason, it will be probably the best in the competition this year. But infield or general play kicking helps, goal kicking helps. But yeah, he could easily put out a 45 and all of that sort of subsided. So I would just hold off anyone like him that's at that top dollar range just at the moment with all those cheapies that we've mentioned and we'll get into in these coming games. Cody Walker was fantastic. He's another pod of ours in Fantasy HQ. 53 looked great, so we'll be cashing in some money hopefully over the next few weeks. Don't think I quite have him as a buy. I mean, it's probably between him and Sanders if you are looking for a cheap half. And honestly, I probably wouldn't blame coaches if they're going Cody over Sanders. That's just one for coaches to weigh up there. And in the forward pack, it was great to see Fafita look like he's going to be a 70 to 80 minute edge. We were probably suspecting a 60-minute, 65-minute max. But he's going to go above that. So that's fantastic. So if you don't have him, he didn't start that well. So I'd give him another week or two. And when he puts out that first big score, I would certainly be jumping on. Cam Murray looked really good. But the likes of himself, Aitken, Kolomatangi, Tallis Duncan on the bench, with the rotation Bennett's running, it's looking like they're all getting 60 minutes each. So 60 minutes is probably not what you're after for Cam Murray. You can wait just to the back end of the season for the likes of himself and Kolomatangi. Anything for yourself there, Steve-O, on the Bunnies front?
I know you took Ewan Aiken in your personal team. I was wondering what you thought about his minutes in terms of his role. He played, 20 minutes on the edge, then moved to the middle. Is that something that has you worried? I know he scored a 50, and he's a bit of a pod, only 2.7% owned. Can play centre, so If he averages 50, that's a great buy, but are you a bit worried about his role?
Yeah, it certainly didn't. I should say it caught me off surprise massively. His role within the team
Mm.
did not pick 40 minutes at prop, but I guess there's two sides to it. He's a busy guy, agile, and he's going to get around the field and make those tackles. And he still had 100 plus run meters. So if he gets 100 plus run meters, he's going to go above 25, even probably above 30 tackles most weeks. So he's looking at a base of 40. Um, and so I'd be expecting him in that role probably to be like a really consistent 45 to 50, not much leeway either way. I don't see him scoring too many tries in the first 20 minutes of games before he gets shifted. Um, and he's not probably the biggest of offloaders there in the middle of the field playing prop. So yeah, I don't think there's huge upside. I don't think there's huge downside. If you're like myself, certainly hold for another week. All those cheapies aren't going to be scoring 45 plus every week. The likes of Chester, who we're about to talk about in the next game, and Leo from the Storm, there'll be weeks where they have low 30s, and Aiken shouldn't be chucking that out. So I think in the long run, he probably proves his worth. But I actually jumped off him very late in the week off Leo, so I was a little bit gutted because I could have saved that 400k and got the same output for round one. But I'm happy to stay with him for the next week or two.
Last question. I see a few people making that knee-jerk reaction and bringing in Latrell Mitchell and trading out the likes of Walsh. Latrell, though, he could be the sort of guy that can just go and average 70 for the first 5 weeks of the season and get your way to a fly. If you were really wanting to take a risky pod, is that someone you'd consider, even at max dollar?
If I had started like if I was a coach that started round one really poorly, and I'm an overall player, uh, I can see why you would if you're desperate for a bit of a catch up. But Walsh has the Eels Thursday night footy. Uh, Eels were horrific in round one. Their defense was poor, especially through the middle. So Payne Haas breaking through offloads. Walsh will be sniffing around. I would not be surprised if Walsh goes 70 plus, if not 80 plus against the Eels. And if Latrell then just put out a 45 after 2 rounds, they're just about on the same playing field, and you've wasted a trade. So I would side on the side of caution in round two, but I can understand where coaches will be coming from. Latrell has more base with the kicking and general play and goal kicking, but yeah, trades are worth their weight in gold. So I would be reluctant.
Right, moving on to Saturday, Super Saturday. West Tigers versus the Cowboys, 5 p.m. New Zealand time. Quite a few good options here, I think. Adam Dewey, probably the biggest buy for me out of the lot. Price of that 557k. I think we've both talked about it large. We think he will average somewhere around 55, maybe even 60, and be sort of that reliable half you want on your side alongside Nathan Cleary. I think that's the perfect duo to have. Marcassini, he'll come in at 250, has that centre wing duel. I basically think he's a must-have the way he started the season, but you'd want to give him at least 1 week if you haven't got the likes of Noah Martin or a couple of those other cheapies that are going to already score, already get big price rises because they've got 60 plus in the bank. Whereas Marcassini, he has to still first score that first big score before he can get price rises going. So I think if you have other priorities, I think leave them. Otherwise, Marcassini is someone that is a good buy to get into your team. Terrell May there. I don't think there'll be many coaches able to buy him in round two. And I think he's more of a risky pod now that we've already got our team set. I think if how we did it for our Fantasy HQ team is good because we already had him. We don't have to waste trades. If he looks like he's only going to get 50 minutes each week and only average 55, we can pivot from him. But if you were to go waste a trade now and have to trade out a big time player, the likes of, people might want to trade out Payne Haas because he only scored a, 56. But I think that would be the wrong move at this stage. So I'd put Terrell May down as being a pod option, but still a buy. And then Kaipies Paul, I think, is the other interesting one. We both talked about him in preseason, and the idea that he was going to be getting more attack run down his way. Benji wants him to throw the offloads, wants him to be that sort of point of difference in terms of X factor. And with a break even of 53, price at 695k, if he does come out looking like the big aggressor on attack, he could end up being that 60-point average. So I'm not against anyone picking up Kaipies Paul, although I do again think it's a bit hard to bring him in this week with the amount of cheapies there is. So that's my only thing I have to say on KPP. How about you? Is it sort of similar mindset in terms of the Tigers?
Yeah, certainly. A question for you that I'll throw to you, Steve, because we covered it through the preseason. Terrell May, busy gaming away on his stream, said that he would like to get to a 60-minute role. But if you look at the interchange, even with 6 players, you've got Scouten outside back, you've got Tristan Hope, Jock Madden, and then you've got Royce Hunt, who's not a big minute forward. Then you've got Alex Seifert, who I can't see playing too much prop, and Sione Fainu. It doesn't look like a heck of a lot of minutes on that bench for me. Is May looking at 65 to 70 minutes still, or is an Alex Twile looking at 65 minutes at lock? What do you think? Who do you think's the big cash in there, Twile or May? Because yeah, that bench does not look overly appetizing.
The bench, yeah, the only other thing I could see happening is the likes of Coruscant going to 13 with 12 into prop. Just giving that extra attacking threat in the middle, sort of getting a bit more run and gun. But, I mean, yeah, like you say, Royce Hunt's certainly not a big minute player. He's sort of only that 20, 25 minutes on average sort of thing. So, I mean, looking at that bench, it excites me to start the season that Terrell May will be playing that 70-minute role. And I think they'll want to make sure they win this first game. And Benji knows it's probably Terrell May playing big minutes.
Yeah.
May did say on his live stream he wants to get to 60 minutes or 65 minutes. So maybe that's, throughout the season, he starts high and, going 70, 75 minutes and, come round 12 over Origin when they can sort of rest each other a little bit more because they don't actually have any Origin players. Maybe at that stage he drops down to that sort of 65 minutes and sort of, then takes up again towards the end of the season, going back high when it's sort of come crunch time. So maybe that's how they manage him through the season. So yeah, I mean, if you're brave enough and want to go for a pod and switch out Payne Haas to Terrell May, I certainly don't recommend it. But if you do, good luck to you. We'll already have Terrell May and Payne Haas, so I'm
And
pretty
yeah,
excited for it this week, to be honest with you.
yeah. And I think, the edges are 80-minute edges. I can't really see a Seifert spelling either of them. So if they are 80-minute edges, I mean, you've got to use your 4 interchanges somewhere. I definitely think they'll use a utility for Coruscant. I see Coruscant playing 60 minutes, so I'd be staying away from him and the hooker options. Um, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I'll certainly be watching closely with the Tigers in their rotation this week, and uh, hopefully it goes well for May. But it'll be an interesting one. We'll get moving on to the Cowboys, though. Keep it rolling. Buys for the Cowboys. Tom Chester started with a 45, and we were watching that game together, and we were stressing because we both have him. He's in our Fantasy HQ side, and he looked like he was absolutely doing nothing in that first half. I happened to be on 15 or 16 on, so we weren't too unhappy because we thought if he could get a 20 or 24-point half, he's all right, and he did better than that. So in games where he's more involved and gets more confidence, I think the upside's looking good on that right-hand side. He had 20 tackles, which I think is a really big one. If he can keep that moving forward, a great base there for a cheap centre.
Other than
And the
that,
forwards, yeah, I mean, you got Lukey. If you miss Lukey, I'd certainly be getting him in. He's got a good role for weeks to come. Reed's another one. It looks like Grant's okay, but if he happens to go down with a leg injury in the next couple of rounds, I would certainly be bringing in Reed. He looked good. And outside of that, I would be staying away from the rest. I don't think you cashing on Sam McIntyre. Went okay, but not an option.
Yeah, both Reed and Lukey above 30% owned, I think. Both good options. Reed particularly is a backup hooker. He does have a B at 25, so there's no rush. Again, it's sort of, there's cheapies that you sort of got to target first because they're going to make you your big money straight away. I mean, Chester could be one of them. He's going to have a break even -1, so he's going to be making a lot of money if he can get another 45. But yeah, Reed, Lukey, I like a lot of them.
I think when it comes to Chester, you've got himself and Leo, and you've got to weigh those up. And some coaches, your team and your trades will come down to needs. Like
Yep.
if you've got a couple of mid-range centres, most of those from the top of my head absolutely stunk it up. Casey McLean being one who we spoke about in the preseason, scored a try and scored 21. You might have that issue that you really want to get rid of because they're going to be losing money. I would be prioritising that and getting a Leo or a Chester in rather than, say, Noah Martin and one of the Storm edges and doubling up on the edge position. So just don't get caught out with the high scoring cheapies. Just make sure you're covering your other bases. Some guys might be losing 50, 60k over the next coming weeks, and that's taken away from those gains anyway.
Especially if you do go and load up on a lot of cheapies and they all sort of bottom out in the next week or so. I mean, in this game coming up, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. New Zealand time, Dragons vs Storm, someone like Ryan Couchman, although he played 60 minutes round one, nothing to say he might not play 40 minutes and only get a 30 in that time, especially against someone like the Storm. There could be extra missed tackles in there. There could be, knock-ons because the Storm are a good team. So I'd say with a little bit of caution, you still want to have reliable scorers. It's not just, okay, this guy scored 80 round one or this guy got 60. We've got to have him in the team because it could come down hard the next week. Having said that, I do think Ryan Couchman is a big buy. So I think he's a great option there at 292k. He'll be making you a lot of money in the next couple of weeks just because of his break even, -17 or something like that. Hamish Stewart, I think there's still room for him to be a buy. I don't think he's pressing like anyone else though, so it's a bit of a buy if you've got nothing else to make. Toby Couchman, again, he'll be solid throughout the season, but I think there's enough options to not need to buy him straight away. Daniel Atkinson, though, for me, for the Dragons, he's my best buy for the side. So he got 59 in that game, and he didn't have a huge amount of attacking stats, to be honest with you. It was mostly base. So, I mean, I think his base there is going to be around 50 week in, week out. So I think that's a reliable scorer for your bench and someone I think is a must-have, to be honest with you. And for the Storm, do you want to lead us through those guys? There's a few here to consider.
Yeah, Storm. Just quickly on Atkinson, I definitely think he is a pickup. But again, just prioritise it. There might be a couple who you think are really solid in minutes, really solid in a role. The likes of a Noel Martin, like as long as you think he's going to get 80 minutes, he's not going to score a double every week and score an 80. But now if he can score low to mid 40s for the next 4 or 5 weeks, he's going to make 200k, where Atkinson won't be doing that. So he could be a next week option. So yeah, again, just be careful with who you bring in, who you're not, who's going to make the quickest money and has the least risk. And Atkinson won't kick for 880 meters every week, but it was fantastic for coaches to see him doing 95% of the general play kicking. So his base will be high, but there will be other guys this week, I think, who you could bring in and look to him for rounds 3 or 4, because I will certainly be doing that. On the Storm front, Leo, I've just spoken about him before, between him and Chester to cover the centres. If you missed the Makasini, like you mentioned for the Tigers, certainly they'd be bringing him in, bringing one of these two guys, because they've done that work in round 1 and they will reap the rewards. Even if they put out mid-30s, again, for the next 3 or 4 weeks, they'll be making 130, probably to 150 plus K. So, he won't be scoring a 65 every week, so certainly don't be buying him thinking he's a locked-in starter who's going to average 40 to 50 or 60, because there'll be quieter weeks. And I'll be interested to see how he goes against the Dragons. I think the Dragons will be much better defensively than the Eels that the Storm just got to run over for fun in round one. Other buys on the Storm front. If you missed Chan and Lasati, one of the chaps at my work did that. He did have Noah Martin, so that sort of saved him. But if you did miss both them in round one for whatever reason, yeah, I'd be picking up one or the other. Now, they are going to make big coin. You will see Sean Bloor down the reserves, the extended bench. Now, if he comes back early, that'll chuck a spanner in the works. I'm hoping certainly, and the news says particularly for Lasati, because apparently Chan does have that right edge locked down. It might change. But if you don't have either, I would just about be waiting until they kick off and the final team lists get revealed to be making that move. So just don't get caught out there. Don't bring them in the next day or two and think they're sorted for the round, because Sean Bloor is lurking there in the background. And yeah, that's it for the Storm. Any other thoughts there, Steve-O?
No, it is those three. Harry Grant also looked really good at hooker.
Yeah.
And if he didn't go down with that little bit of a niggle, I think he would have been on for scoring a double, going on for close to an 80 if he played the last 15 odd minutes. So,
Yeah.
looked really good. But yeah, Leo, Chan, and Lasati, all three good options. Lasati for me is the most reliable of the three in terms of point scoring week in, week out. I think he's got the best base. It's just whether or not he can hold that spot. And to be honest with you, he looked fantastic. So I think there's no reason he can't. But time will tell, I guess. So, like you said, probably waiting until until closer to game time to make that decision, and have like sort of an out if you need to.
Yeah.
Moving on to the late game, Saturday night, 9:35 p.m. New Zealand time. Panthers versus Sharks. For the Panthers, no one I'm going to say is a screaming buy. I don't think there's any. People might suggest like a Jenkins because he had one good score, but again, I don't think he's going to score that well every week. Nathan Cleary, if you don't got him yet, I'd probably say it's a bit hard to bring him in already. Other than that, not a lot I'm liking. Is anyone for the Panthers that's sort of screaming buy for you?
They looked unbelievable against the Broncos round one, but now on the fantasy front, certainly no buys. Like you said, if you've got some, you're happy to keep them. Other guys are certainly screaming buys compared to the Panthers guys, so they'll just simmer away in the background. On the Sharks front, honestly, much the same. I mean, the guy probably at the top of the list when it comes to the Sharks would be Jesse Colquhoun. We were talking, he didn't really get the minutes we like. We've got him there, but he's looking like his potential sitting at that 45 max. He's looking to only get 40, maybe 45 minutes. And a point a minute, which he can do. He made a lot of tackles in the weekend, which is good. So yeah, he's going to be one of those guys who doesn't have a low, he doesn't have a high. So don't be expecting 60s from him. But he will simmer away for the next 10 weeks where he's got that role. And so he'll still make close to that 150k. He'll be a slower burn, but I certainly don't think he's one that you need to trade away, waste the trade to get one of these other guys, because I think in the long run, he'll go close to what some of the other guys are on the lower end. Certainly not some of them, but he won't be too far off some of them. And if he's only 80k below some of them after 10 weeks, I don't think that 80k difference is worth that trade. And then you've got to trade him out again. So, yeah, just don't have that knee-jerk reaction to the likes of a Colquhoun. Did enough. And I would just check out Hines as a stay away. We haven't had many traps so far, but he is probably the top of the list for me. Scored a double, scored an 80, 5% owned, massive pod play for those coaches. You're stoked, but he kicked for 68 metres, and that is 2 fantasy points. And we talked in the preseason, we hoped that he'd gain more confidence, take the team over more. But it was certainly Braden Trindle's team now, and Hines is sort of sitting in the background, and he'll have some attacking gains, but he's going to be up and down. And as soon as he doesn't score a try, I'm picking him to average 35 in those games. So certainly don't be getting carried away there with that round one score and buying him. Stay away there, team.
Moving on, Sunday, Seagulls playing the night, 6:05 p.m. New Zealand time. And the Seagulls, I mean, they're not the most fantasy relevant team. Tom Trbojevic could be a sneaky pod option though. He did look good for about a 60 odd. I forget where he did score. Was it 60? But
Yes.
looked really good. Kohler as well also looked pretty good, but I mean that's a pretty risky option. We've seen in previous years he has the odd breakout game, but then he'll sort of peter away at a 20 and a 30 for 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And in the full pack, Jake Simpkin, he's an option if you want to go for a half, got good minutes. Hooker, got good minutes, but doesn't really have much attacking stat. He's all in base. I think it's mostly tackles for Simpkin. So it's sort of a reliable base, but nothing that's going to be groundbreaking if you get him into your team. And the Knights, Frosty.
Yeah, I think on Sipkin, he did get 80 minutes, again, great for the coaches, but I think he will quickly come back down to earth. You've got Joey Walsh there who sat there all week last week, but you've also now got Brandon Wakeham there. So those two utilities and a couple are, it's looking like guys sort of looking to make their debuts or in and around that. One of those utilities has to come into play this week, you would imagine. So don't be buying Sipkin if you've got him. Stay with him, but don't be buying him. Olakwatu at 54, you talked about him later on in the preseason. At 600k, not a bad option, but plenty of cheapies in the edge. On the Knights front, again, if you're after a gun wing fullback who looked really good, great base, Pong is your man. But we've spoken a lot about the cheapies, so I'll be prioritising those. But I certainly understand coaches shoring up that wing fullback, especially if you sort of went mid-range and cheapies round one. Outside of that, Trey Mooney, if you missed him, get him in at 66. He will be off and flying at 450k or just above that now after his price rise. And Jermaine McEwen, he got more minutes than what I was expecting at 70, so that's promising. If you can keep that up, he'll score more than his 37 at times. He'll still score high 38s often too. So again, he can be a watch for another week. But that's all on the Knights front for me, Steve-O.
Yeah, I think in both those sides, Olakwatu and McEwen, playing the edge, I think there's just too many cheap options in the edge. You've got Lukey, you've got Lasati, you've got Chan, you've got Martin, you've got Couchman. You've got Fafita, who's also below Olakwatu's price. So I think there's just too many options there to even consider buying these players now. I mean, if you had started with them, sure, you've done that, but buying them in now, I think it's just there's money to be made elsewhere, and that's the main part at the moment is making money. And that backline though, I mentioned at the start of the video, I would love to make 3 trades or 3 or 4 trades. One of those I would get in would be a Kalen Ponga. So I won't be, but if I had a bunch up my sleeve, I'd probably trade Cobbo up to Ponga with the money I've got left over. So really disappointed I switched last minute from Walsh to Ponga. Because Ponga does look like he can keep that going as well. I do think Dylan Brown, he basically broke even on last round. And I do think that was his floor. So I think we might see his ceiling in the next couple of weeks. And I think it will be, averaging out around that 50 points or 48, somewhere around there. So not suggesting a buy this week. Because I think if you want to get the likes of Sanders or Atkinson, they're probably safer options right now. But I do think Brown is worth holding and not trading to one of those people. Just as an extra one there. Moving on to the final game, which is the Dolphins versus the Titans. And I tell you what, there might be a few tries in this one. And that could be Herbie Farnworth scoring a few, or Cobbo. For me, I hope it's Cobbo because I've got him. I do not suggest he's a buy though. Herbie, if you needed a centre and you had the money and you wanted to buy one and just lock him in, I think we saw last week in a bit of a weird game, he scored a 54. You're pretty happy with that. This week though, it could be easily a 70. I mean, he could be a decent pod captaincy option if you really want to go down that route. In the 4-pack, no one I'm suggesting to buy, but There's a few interesting options there. Schreider there is interesting, playing at hooker. Definitely don't buy him though. And yeah, that's about it for me. It's sort of watch this game, see who gets the attacking stats. It could be anyone.
Yeah, and I would note for the Dolphins, we talked last week about guys to come back already in round two early. They were meant to be round four. Max Plath and Ray Stone. So they'll be limited minutes this week for sure. Coming back from an ACL for Plath and shoulder surgery for Stone. But yeah, I would be staying away from anything Dolphins forward related for the time being. Jeremy Marshall King back soon, all those bits and pieces. So they're going to take a good 5, 6, 7 weeks to get settled. On Herbie, we had him in our team early for our Fantasy HQ side. Jumped off him, and I think we've played it wise. And if the coach stayed away, I think you are onto the right one. A 54 is solid. Unfortunately for him and the coaches that spent 900k, 250k centres were matching him or outdoing him, and his break even's already gone up to about 64ish. And if he scores 55 average for the next 3 weeks, which is a really good effort, he's still going to find himself down at 750k. 800k he was. So he's going to lose 50k if he averages that mark. So he needs a big 70 or 80 to even keep his value. So yeah, stay away for now. Let him just keep dropping away, and he'll be certainly a pickup when he bottoms out. But just be patient with him. Uh, and on the Titans, a buy. Let's have a look. Adama Ho, he joins the cheap edges. Got good minutes. He looks to have kept that spot. Everyone thought it was Paxton's. He got a HIA in that final trial, and for whatever reason, he's lost it. But I think Ho did enough there in that game to keep it. I've got him in my personal side, so I certainly hope it's the way. And yeah, that's surely a floor sort of game. I think 35 will be his floor. He scored a 39, and as soon as he gets a try, finds his feet, gets more confidence, he'll be giving out some 40s. So definitely a buy option there. And outside of him, I'm going to say the rest are not buys, and I would point out Firemoney, probably in that, maybe not quite a trap round, but just right at the bottom of the pecking order when it comes to buys and the cheapies. There's so many that have gone 50 plus. You just don't need to be taking the risk with him. If you've got Situ 2, if you've got Chester, dual position, Makasini playing this week, Firemoney's scored a 31 or a 32 with a try and a line break. I don't think he had a single tackle. He's going to be heavily reliant on those attacking stats. And if the Titans struggle, he won't be going so well, and he'll be a slow burn. So don't be too eager to get him in right at the moment. But if he goes for a 60, it changes the story. Anything for yourself, Stevo?
No, just touching on that fire money. He's going to be the sort of player that can score a 21 week and then might score a 55 with a double, with a couple, big runs. Sort of someone you want to be able to loop. I wouldn't want to be starting him in my 17. So yeah, I definitely don't recommend he's a buy, especially with the likes of Leo, Chester, those sort of guys that you can sort of make money with early. So hold off Firemoney. If he's in your team though, you might as well write him out. There's no need to trade him out straight away. He's already made 14 points of value in his first game. So if he sticks to that 31, he's going to make over 100k. So not an urgent trade. Other than that, though, that's basically it in terms of buys. You mentioned Howe, and yeah, I think he's another good one to add to that sort of edges list. We are spoiled for edges this season, so definitely one where you don't want to have 7 edges in your team because your bench might then become a big problem. But you definitely want to have at least 3 or 4 of them to make sure you're making that money. Other than that, though, Frosty, that's it for this week. There's going to be quite a few buys going around, I imagine. I'm definitely bringing in Noah Martin. And at the moment, I'm
Yeah.
contemplating if I bring in Leo as well. So I missed out on those two. Both were sort of game time decisions to not go their way for me, and
Yeah.
regret those heavily. So I'm looking to correct those sort of wrongs immediately and make that cash as fast as possible. So
Yeah.
thank,
No, I'm much the same.
thank you, Frosty, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Always a pleasure.
We appreciate your support for Fantasy HQ Podcasts, all things NRL Fantasy. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify and Facebook, and most importantly, thanks for watching.